Good morning and welcome to Kramer's Corner with a daily technical update. It is Thursday, the 3rd of October, and today we'll have a quick look at Maersk. Maersk, the container shipping company that got hit heavy by the turmoil in the Middle East, and it got rejected here at 11,470 resistance after it had bounced here earlier in September, and now yesterday and today it's testing 10,435 support. And close below that level, well, then we could see Maersk down back to around the 9,500 area. And here on the weekly, we can see, well, it is actually trading in this falling channel-like pattern where there is risk down to below 9,000, especially if it takes out the lows here back from September around 9,554. To reverse this situation, it needs at least to close above 11,470. Moving on to the US markets, and we had S&P 500 yesterday that closed unchanged, but it's still in this correction phase here where it could take it down to the 38.2 retracement at 5,628. Then we have the 21 moving average. So give it a little support. It's not much as you see. It's more like a guideline, I would say. The stronger support down here around 5,541, where we also have the 55 moving average coming up. There is a risk down to that level. I'm not saying we will get there, but that is at least a risk. And if we're looking at the US 500 CFD slash the future, it seems like it's being sold off a little bit this morning, and there we have support here at 5,625 around this area. It could be tested here the next couple of days. The Nasdaq 100, well, yesterday once again it tested 19,622, just above the 38.2 retracement, and the US 100 Nasdaq CFD and future, well, 19,546 is it seems to be a little bit of a support. I think we will test it possibly today. We were at least very close to, so I think we could see a bit testing today. There's a risk to dip down to 19,300. EUROSTOXX 50 is currently testing the support here at 4,943. It dipped below previous 2 days. If we do get a close below, well, then there's a risk down to below 4,900, maybe even all the way down to 4,855. Not quite sure we'll get all the way down to that, but at least that's the risk. If it moves back above and close above 5,000, then I will regard it as the uptrend has resumed. Here we have the EU50 that is currently the 38.2 retracement being broken. I think we'll see a test of 4,900, and there's a little bit support here at 4,882, but there's risk down to the 4,857. The DAX index, well, doing a little bit better this morning, but let's see. The day is still young. And at least I think we will test the 19,000. We are so close to it this morning, and there is risk lower if it breaks that, and then we could see DAX pushing lower towards 18,850, maybe even down to around 18,700. And we can see it here. There's divergence on the DAX index itself. And looking at the Germany index, the Germany CFD here, we have it also currently testing minor support there, but I think we will see it testing 19,000 flat here this morning, and there's risk down to 18,839. Possibly 18,685, but let's see, that's a stronger support down here if we get to that level. On the Amsterdam index, well, still flat here, still negative sentiment on the RSI. If it moves back below and closes back below 908, I think the downtrend will resume. The CAC index continue dropping this morning. 74.64 could be tested. It's quite interesting that we actually had this positive sentiment is still in play, but it seems to be struggling really to follow through with it. And now we have the 100 moving average declining, and that is now back below. If it drops back below 74.64, well, then we could see it trading around the 73 level once again. We need to get the index back above the 200 moving average for any bullish potential. The Swiss markets, well, it seems to be resuming downtrend. Still negative sentiment, didn't break above 60 threshold, so we could see it test the 12,000 level here fairly shortly. I'm not sure it will be today, but it could be tomorrow or next week. It seems really heavy at the moment after not closing about 12,250. That's the key level it needs to close above for a bullish trend. On the FX market, euro-dollar correction phase is continuing after breaking 110.83, the 61.8, and now it's also below the 7.86. We talked about yesterday it could drop all the way down to 110, and if it closes below 120, then we have a completely new situation. But I think it will bounce around this area here. We also have the 55 moving average coming up. We could dip a little bit lower, but I think we'll bounce. If we move back above 111, I think the uptrend will resume. And if we're looking at the weekly chart, and that's a really good idea, even despite the fact that if you are a short-term trader, it's also good to look at the little bit longer-term view. It is struggling a little bit on a weekly. There's actually no divergence on the RSI, but if we do close below 110 on the daily, well, then the uptrend here could be cancelled, and then the euro dollar could test the upper falling trend line in this triangle here that is broken out of. The key here is that the 200 moving average has been declining, and that's possibly what is dragging it a little bit lower currently. The euro sterling has bounced, and there was a risk doing that because there was a little bit of a divergence here. It is now bounced 50%. I think it will bounce all the way up to around 84 level to 61.8, just spiking up there. And there's a risk up to 84.30, and then I think it will resume down. So we can see we are actually in this falling trend still on the weeklies, just bouncing from the 83.40 key strong support here after dipping below a few times. Cable, more or less the opposite pattern here. After taking out support at 132.65, it is actually currently below the 61.8 retracement at 131.67. And I do apologize that the letters, the numbers here, the font is a little bit small. Unfortunately, I can't change that. I hope it can be changed in the future. I think we'll see cable dropping to 130.95 around 131 level here in a correction phase. But also you can see it's actually still in a bullish trend, bullish sentiment, but this is a bearish engulfing, so that is quite interesting. It's not the biggest candle, the positive candle before that, but we are currently very close to testing 131.46, sorry. But it needs to close below 130 for the uptrend to be, on the medium term, to be cancelled. Moving on to the yen pairs, and dollar yen tested the 147.21 resistance this morning. Really key level, as you can also see. RSI testing the 60 threshold. If it's being rejected, both of them, and we are sliding lower, and there is a risk we can do that with the 55 moving average kind of dragging on it here. Well, then we could see it sliding back below 145. But looking at the weekly, it's actually quite interesting. We talked about it a couple of weeks ago where it formed this bullish engulfing bottom and reversal candle, and so for now it has bounced, and there is risk up to 148.12, which is somewhere between the this resistance and the resistance at 149.40. So that will be interesting here the next couple of days going into next week, which side will win. There is definitely a battle going on around these 147.20-25 level. Euro yen also bounced. Well, not as strong though, but as you see here on the daily, 162.90 resistance, but the really key one is 164. That is really key for a euro yen. RSI is still below 60 threshold, meaning we are still in a negative sentiment. It needs to close above 60 for a positive sentiment to push it higher. Also here we have 55 moving average declining, and that is also dragging on euro yen quite a bit, and you can see here a couple of times it dragged it back lower. Aussie yen, and let's just zoom out a little bit. It actually broke above the 99.90 resistance, but it wasn't that surprising because we had the RSI above 60 threshold already. The thing is, can it actually follow through? And looking at the weekly, well, it is in a strong bounce, trying to build a bullish trend, but a key is how far will it go? And we do have some resistance here around 101.78 around this level, where it's also the 61.8 retracement. The sterling yen, well, it closed above 193.50 yesterday. Now it's back below, so there's really struggle going on here, or battling going on around here, just below the 100 moving average. You can see that's a really strong resistance. Apparently, it's usually not that strong, but that seems to be. So it needs to take out that, and it needs to take out 195, 196 for further upside potential to around 200. If it slides back and takes out the lows here at 189.55, well, then expect downtrend to resume. Aussie dollar is in a correction phase, and I think we'll see it correct down to around 68.20, 68, and maybe a little bit below here, but in this area as a minimum. Of course, there's also, when we see a correction, there's always a risk down to the 61.8 retracement, and in this case it's around 67.45, but let's see if we'll actually get down there. But it's not unlikely, just as a warning. So if it starts taking out the 68.10 level, then we could see a correction down to that level there. But bouncing off, then uptrend could resume. We have dollar Canada. Dollar Canada is still can't really. It's a lot of times it's very indecisive, but I think there's still correction potential up to 135.60, which is 61.8 retracement here, potentially a little bit higher, but we are in a correction move. If it takes out the lows from yesterday at 134.70, well, then I think we'll see downtrend resuming. The Swiss pairs, well, we have. The Swiss pairs can't really make its mind up either. Euro-Swiss here bouncing a little bit off lows, but the 55 moving average is dragging it lower. We had the 100 now crossing below the 200. So the underlying trend is bearish, but we need the RSI back below 44 and new confirmation of the 93 level to be tested and possibly taken out. 95.10 needs to be taken out to the upside, then the picture will reverse to a bullish one. Dollar Swiss currently testing the upper boundary on this range trading behavior here. 85.40 is currently being tested. Can it break above, and then we could see a push above 86, but the 55 moving average is kind of putting a lid on it. However, we have seen divergence for so long, so maybe we should see it being broken. But I want confirmation, and then I want the 60 threshold also to close above 60 for the RSI to be broken above 60 threshold. If not, then we could see dollar Swiss sliding back. And the dollar index, well, it has broken above 101.18 and is likely to test the 101.86, and then I think it will be knocked back if it gets up there, and I think the RSI will also be knocked back from the 60 threshold. But let's see, if it does close above, well, then there's further upside potential. Gold, and let me just zoom in quite a bit here. Gold seems range bound. It bounced off the 38.2 retracement and back up to the 786 retracement of this little sell-off here, and now it seems caught range bound between 26 and 24. If it takes out that, expect to push down to 2600. If it takes out the peak here at 2674, the peak here from the 1st of October, then I think we'll also take out the all-time highs here and push towards 2700. The silver, well, bouncing from the 38.2 retracement at 30 spot 70, just above it, and could be caught range bound up to the 32.70, 72 here the next couple of days going into next week. It really needs to break out either to the upside or to the downside. I think eventually it'll break out to the upside, but we could see a larger correction than it currently has done. The copper also bounced from the 38.2 retracement at 450. If it takes out that, well, then we are looking at 440, 433, possibly 432. But if it does close above 470, and a close above will be a really strong signal for copper to push higher towards 500. Crude oil has been on the move, and let's have a look at WTI. Rejected yesterday at the 72.40 50 resistance, so it's still caught in this range here, and I would say needs to break above 72.50 and the lows from the 1st of October at 66.35 36. If it takes out that, well, then the bearish trend will resume. There's negative sentiment. There's no divergence, which that is indicating it. But again, look out for 72.50 on WTI. Brent oil, more or less the same picture, and spiked just a little bit above 75.87. Just above 76. If it takes out that, well, then we can see a push higher towards the 80 level. If we get up there or not, that is debatable, I would say. If it takes out the lows from the 1st of October at 69.93, well, the downtrend is to resume. The US 10-year Treasury yield, well, seems to being caught range bound just below 382 and 370. So in this range here, it really needs to break out for any direction. Well, the falling wedge pattern should have told us, well, bottom and reversal, there's been divergence. We should have seen higher levels, but can't really get its act together and push higher. So if it takes out 370, once again, I think we'll see a test of 360. So really on the edge here at the moment. All right, that's all for today. Have a nice day and talk to you again tomorrow.